Okay, what's up, everybody? Hope everybody had a good Rosh Hashanah. People tell me they're blown away by the Tkiya Shofar. Okay. On that note, actually, that wasn't intentional. That wasn't even intentional. Okay, we have a machlokes on the tour, two shittas on the tour, whether or not the Bahag holds that there is in the tour brought down that there's a machlokes tour, and the tour brings it as machlokes Bahag and Tosas, which nobody knows what that Tosas is. One portion would say whether or not through when the Gemara talks about the adifus of Hadlakas near Shabbos over near Hanukkah, because near Beis Adif, so then which one should you madlik first? So the Bahag says that you should light first near Hanukkah, because if you light near Shabbos first, then that's Kabbalah Shabbos. Through Hadlakas near Shabbos, that's Kabbalah Shabbos. And Tosha says no, that we should do it the other way around, because the adifus of Neros, and there is no Kabbalah Shabbos by Neros. So the Torah doesn't really go into the machlokes very much, but the Ran was sort of like paraphrase the Ran a little bit. The Ran brings B'Shem the Ramban, the quotes this Bahag. If you see the Ramban is in Chedushim and Shabbos and Chav Gimel and Beis, and that sugya of near Beis of near Hanukkah, and Chav Gimel and Beis and Shabbos. So the Ramban brings the Bahag, the Rashba also, they all bring this down, that the Ramban ties that it definitely could be makdim the near Shabbos to the near Hanukkah, because there is no Kabbalah Shabbos by near Shabbos. It's not for Kirat. The Ramban says that the reason we'd be madlik the near Shabbos is because it's not Shabbos. The whole reason you're madlik now is because it's not Shabbos. It would be Shabbos, you couldn't light. So the fact that you're lighting it, it's a raya that it's not Shabbos, and there's no reason to say that it's a Kabbalah Shabbos with Hadlakas and Neros. So make it tasty to say that through the Hadlakas Neros, your Kona Shvisa, that it creates all the nafkaminas of the Tchila Shabbos. Ran, however, is cholik on this Ramban. The Ran is on Daf Yud and Shabbos and the Dapei Ran, that it definitely is a Kabbalah. And he explains to answer the Ramban's kasha on the Bahag, he says, quote the words of the Ran, or the minig chachamim haya shemalacha ha'achrona shahayu osim be'erev Shabbos paisa hadlakas haner. It's an interesting lashon, minig chachamim. So the minig chachamim is that the last thing that you do is hadlakas haner. And then he goes on, he says, I feel by hanachas tefillin, we had that whole sugya he brought down to Sanhedrin with the Ma'aser of Elazar was sick, and Horkanus Beno, he came in to take off his tefillin before Shabbos, and he yelled at him and said, "Why didn't you light Neros Shabbos yet? You're gonna put yourself in the suffix. Is there skila to light Neros to take off my tefillin?" So he ran and put in the Neros, and then he took his tefillin off. We see from there the Ran says that Be'etzem, he would have, if not for the fact that it was last minute, he would have taken off the tefillin first. So why is it so? If you're not Makabel Shabbos through Hadlakas Neros, then why is it so important to take off the tefillin before Hadlakas Neros? We know we can't wear tefillin on Shabbos. It's an ois. It's a Baal Tosef. So fine. So light Neros, you're not Makabel Shabbos like the Ramban, and there's no shaykhus, and then take the tefillin afterwards when you have time. What's the rush? Ella Akrach, you see, Ran says, you see from that Gemara, the fact that he wanted to take his tefillin off even before, that B'Pashtus, there is a Kabbalah Shabbos through Hadlakas Neros. So the words of the Ran are based on that. He says, Ella, Vadai Hainu Taima Mishum Darabanan Hachi Takun. So the Ran changes his words. In the beginning, the Ran says, Minit Chachamim. But then later on, after he brings the word Sanhedrin, he says, Lashon Takana. It wasn't just a minute Chachamim, but it was actually a Takanas Chachamim. Rabbanan Hachi Tikun, or Takun, Shetei Hadlaka, Malacha Achreina, V'Shalayase Achreya Malacha Klal. That's a Takanas Chachamim, that the last thing a person does should be Hadlakas Neros. So they go back and forth about with the Gemara in Lamed Hayam Beis, the Bryce over there, that the Sheish Tkiyos, used to blow sheish tkiyos, and so the tkiya achroina, the last malacha is Hadlakas Neros, and then there's still enough time after that to be able to do to be matman esachamin and a few other things that they would need to do. So the Ramban learned from there that we see that it's not a Kabbalah Shabbos, that the guy himself, the Baal Tokeh himself, by the Sheish Tkiyas, that the Baal Tokeh himself for the Sheish Tkiyas, that Baal Tokeh was afterwards did a few other malachas afterwards. So we see that it's lav dafka, the malacha achroina that anybody does is Hadlakas Neros. But the Ran says no for carrot. He says that the Baal Tokeh himself, he was not lighting Neros, he's just a Baal Tokeh. So that's why he is continuing, he has time to do a few last malachas. But anyone who lit, since people have different levels of malachas to do, more things, less things to do. So when he blows that tkiya and the people out there that hear it light their Neros, then they don't do anything more. For carrot, they have to do everything before that, and then they finish. And then they do the Hadlakas Neros. So the Ran ends off and says these words. So after the Ramban, the Ran is Kaveh, Keneg the Ramban, and that the words of the Ran were that the Rabbanan Hachi Takun, Shetei Hadlaka Malacha Achroina, Shalayasa Achrei Malacha Klal. So he says, with time in Milsa, Hainu Taima, the Fishad Laka Malechas Mitzvahi, L'tzarach HaShabbos. These very important words of the Ran. That Hadlaka is Malechas Mitzvah, L'tzarach Shabbos. Ukad Amrina Lakaman, Chafayim Abeis, Hadlakas Ner Shabbos Chayva. In fact, the Gemara says in Chafay that it's Hadlakas Ner is a Chayva, Shenimtza, She Ketchilas Shvisa Ukakabalasa. Since it's a Malachas Kodesh of Shabbos, it's a Malachas Mitzvah of Shabbos, L'tzarach Shabbos, so therefore it's like a Schalash Shvisa by lighting it. You're beginning the Shvisa Shabbos, and that's like Kabbalah Shabbos already. That's what he goes on from there to explain that Maisa with also the Bitsu, the Rabchia, Reb Yosef, his wife over there, that she wanted to light it at the last minute, and then she said no, you should light it earlier, and then she wanted to very very early, and it says Yaktin. So he says the reason she knew that there's a din of Tosefes Shabbos, and you should stop all kinds of malachas before Shabbos comes in. She just thought, he says around, that since this is like a malachas Shabbos be'etzem, it's like a malacha of the tzarach kedusha Shabbos. She thought that should be done at the very last moment, right as Shabbos comes in. And they told her no. That also, even though it's mamish and tzarach Shabbos, you're right inside your Sorah, you're wrong inside it could be, that's not when you should do it. It should be makdim a little bit, to bring in Shabbos a little bit early with that. But in Hanami, the overall svara that she had, the svara pshuta, is that it's a malacha l'tzarach mitzvah Shabbos, and therefore it should be the very last moment possible before Shabbos. That's what the Ran says. So we have to understand the nekudas and machlokas between the Ran and the Ramban over here, that we seem, it's very fascinating machlokas. The Ramban says, it's Cholak on the Bahag, who says that Hadlakas Neros Kabbalah Shabbos, and says that the fact that they did it, and they said, be makdim a little bit and everything, and we're makdim it early, just because we don't want to be tarud when Shabbos comes in, when we're close to Shabbos, to have to worry about the Neros. So it's better to light the Neros a little earlier. They didn't have matches like we do, so it wasn't so easy to light Neros, and it was a little bit of a tircha, a little bit of a time thing. So you want to get it done early, and then go ahead and do whatever else you have to do that's easier to do, what other malachas you need to do to bring Shabbos, so Shabbos comes in. So the Ramban holds the fact that you light Neros, nothing to do with Kabbalah Shabbos whatsoever. For carrot, you light it today and during the day, because it's during the day. That's when you're supposed to light it. And comes the Ran and says no. It's a Tchana Achroina and the Tchanas Mechanim, the last thing you should do, and it's a Tzarach Kedusha Shabbos, and etc. So how do we understand this machlokas?
Rabbi, is there any nafkamina between the fact that he calls it a minig or a takana?
I'm just pointing out the lashon. We have to really think about that. It's hard. It's I don't really know. Maybe if it's a takana, it's more it's less in your choice or in your hands to decide not to do it. Once it's a takana like that, if it's a minig, maybe. I mean, it's not so. I should say that, but I have a parak in my Sefer Yom Tov Sheni. There's also chiluk yelashon is that a takana or minig, and there are nafkaminas between the two, and there might be certain nafkaminas. I'm just pointing out the lashon. Just we have to notice that in case they're, you never know what might come up. Al Kapanan, he does change it and end off with that it's a takana. So maybe because kach nahagu, and then they were choser masakin. Not sure how the seder advarim would be, but definitely we have to understand this machlokas, the Ramban and the Ran, and that is a tremendous nafkamina lalach over here. Do we say that through Hadlakas Neros there's Kabbalah, the stam Hadlakas Neros is Kabbalah Shabbos or not? So I mean, the Ran adds more words. The Ran says the Maskana at the end of the whole big piece. He says, I quote the words: "V'kemen dekol hani shmeitza muchachi shechachamim tiknu shetei Hadlakas aner malacha achrona." Since all these sugyas that he brings, the sugya of he holds it's a raya from the sugya of Tkiya Shofar there, the Sheish Tkiyos, and the raya from the Bitzu Rabbi Yosef, and all these and the sugya of the Tefillin by Rabbi Lezer. They all show that Hadlakas Ner is the last thing, and there's Kabbalah Shabbos by it. The way he learns pshat in those sugyas. So since they all show that it's the last Machachrona, he ends off with these words, very important words. Mishamadle kasan ner kfar hu goymer bedaitoi shalacha malacha zu lo yase shu malacha acheres vein lecha kibul Shabbos gadol mizeh. Since that's the Chaim, and that's what Chaim asks us to do, therefore it's in a person's mind that that's going to be the last malacha he'll do, and he's going to bedaitoi that he's going to be Kabbalah Shabbos at that point. Vein lecha Kabbalah Shabbos gadol mizeh. So it's important that the Ran is telling us that the way the technical way that this works is not that the etzem lighting itself is a Kabbalah, but since Chazal said that the lighting should be the last thing you do, then the Gavra is Makabel B'daito, that he's not going to do anything more. So there's an inherent expected stam das like by Hadlakas Ner that's Kabbalah Shabbos, but it really in Sof Kol Sof it falls back B'daito Shal Adam. It falls on the das to have a Gemiras das to be Kabbalah Shabbos. Okay, so and the Ramban is totally cholik on that. Ramban says Vakir. The reason you're lighting is because it's during the day. So what's going on over here? What's the pshat? Now I think the Ran gave us a remiss to the answer to the pshat by quoting the Gemara in Chaf Hayam Beis. The Ran brings a raya that to his yisod over here that it's a Melechas Kodesh, the Melechas Mitzvah, the Tzorach Shabbos. He says, "Could Amrina the come on like the Gemara in Chaf Hayam Beis, which we just spent the last two shiurim on?" That it says Hadlakas Ner Mitzvah Choiva. So if we remember, we spoke out last time what is that? What's the pshat in those words that are Melechas that Hadlakas Ner Chova? So Tosa said it's Chova LaOnig Shabbos. It's a Chova that Onig Shabbos, either that Onig Shabbos that you should have the Shalei Koshel Be'etz Oven, there should be Shalom Bayis and everything, that's the Onig. Or what most of Shana seem to learn, and that's what we saw the Shulchan Aruch Harav by Richus Halacha L'Maisa, that the Onig, Ikar Onig, and the Ikar Hadlaka we're talking about is the Onig Sha'ala Shulchan, that you shouldn't be eating in the dark. So that's the Ikar Onig Shabbos we're talking about. So now, if the Ran is quoting that Gemara as a raya to his Yisod, so then this takes us to the next step, which is we spoke out last week, or the week before, whatever, the Gra in the beginning of Chos Yom Tov was Miyaseh Yisod Gadol Ma'od, Klal Gadol, that everybody quotes this Gra, that what the Rambam says and the Shulchan Aruch says that there's two dinim in Shabbos, there's Kavod Shabbos and Onig Shabbos. So the Gra says that Kavod Shabbos who Kodim Shabbos. Onig Shabbos is on Shabbos itself. Right? Like it follows from all the dinim. The Rambam says that the dinim of Kavod Shabbos are to prepare the table, prepare your clothing, prepare the home, and together with that, the Rambam says that there should be a ner daluk. on the shulchan, together with preparing everything for Shabbos. All those dinim, the Gra says, are dinim of kavod Shabbos. Kavod Shabbos means that you bring in the Shabbos in a mechubadik way that it's already prepared as like you usher in the melech, which so the Gemara's in Arbe Psachim, in Kiddush and Abdullah. So then we saw all these stories of Melavalas a melech, there's a livui a melech, you melava him in a kavadik way. He's not there yet. You don't wait for the king gets to your city. You go out there and you melava the king in. Like we just had a whole elul to melava the melech in before we just said hamelech. We didn't just start with Rosh Hashanah. You melava the melech. You say the David, and we work on ourselves for a while. We prepare ourselves before the king comes in. So. Or like we know in Derek, as we know, there's Anila Dodi, then there's a Dodi, as we discussed. So that's staff con sister Torah. So the Gra saying Yisrael Gadol that so Dinei Kavod Shabbos are on Erev Shabbos. Dinei Oinik Shabbos are on Shabbos itself. So we spoke out the base of Levi that try to prove that they're really both things. According to everybody, they're both halakas. And we saw also the Brisker said that way in the Rambam, that the Rambam in one place is talking Dinei Onik Shabbos, and another place Dinei Kavod Shabbos, and both of them he mentions Ner. So we see there's two dinim in Ner. So we spoke out problems with that, problems with the Brisker and problems with the Bais Levi, and came to Maskana that maybe that actually the Ikar din is really Onik Shabbos, the Rambam, because the Rambam mentions the bracha within Onik Shabbos, and it's the covet is that you should prepare the Onig, but the bottom line really is Onik Shabbos. That's the Psak of the Shulchan Aruch Harav. We saw tremendous nafkaminas halacha like that. The poskim asked. There's a Magen Avram. We spoke at the Magen Avram that brought the Maharash that said that if a woman forgot to light Neros, and she realized Ben Shmashos, so then she can ask a goy to light for her, and then she can put her hands over it. She won't be nene from it until after the bracha, after the halacha. Then she can make a bracha afterwards. She's making a bracha on the hana, and that Rabbi Kveger asked that ein shlichus nachri. So how could she be yotze with the hadlakas nachri? There's no shlichus nachri to do a mitzvah. How could that be? So the Shulchan Aruch Harav answered that in a chanami, if the Maisa Hadlaka would be the mitzvah, if that would be the mitzvah, the Maisa Hadlaka, which like we find in many mitzvahs that the Iker mitzvah is the Maisa mitzvah, in a chanami ain't shlichus nachri. But since over here the mitzvah is really not the Hadlaka, the Hadlaka is just a chatimtza, it's just a hechsher, a chatimtza that there should be or daluk. The Onig Shabbos, that you shouldn't be sitting in the dark. There should be Geshmaka Onig Shabbos in the house. They have light at the table and everything. So then, in the lighting itself, the Maisa Hadlaka is like a timtza. So on that, you don't have a kasha in Shlichus Hanachri, because that would only be a kasha if that would be the Iker Maisa mitzvah. But if it's on a timtza, on a Heksher mitzvah, there's no problem with Shlichus Hanachri. As long as she was misaviv and she was made sure that it's lit, she was involved in that, then that's enough because that she is involved, and then she make a bracha on the Iker mitzvah, which is the hanaf and the ner, which comes afterwards. That was one nafkamina that we saw.
Is that why Hasidim light on Yom Tif, like mamish on Yom Tif by the Suda and not before Yom Tif?
That's actually a different reason. That's a whole machlokas achronim about that way, because there's no din oneg Yom Tif. There's no din oneg Yom Tif, so it can't really be out to that. It's
okay, sorry.
Different. There's a different shala. Okay, what that is, we have to go into separately. It's a whole separate child. So that's a good question. I mean, I would hear where you're coming from. That maybe there, since you're allowed to light during the day, and the din oneg is during the day, so then it could be yotze, like extra mila. But I think that's really different. Okay, so that was one afkamina that we saw in in the Shaila, the postscript we saw last time also brought it up for those who weren't here, brought it a Geshmak and Nafkamina in the question of electricity. Can you be yotze with an electric light? And there are a number of different issues we discussed, but one of the issues was that the postscript brought up, or Pesach Frank and others mentioned, is that they held that the way switch on an electric light works is not considered a direct Misa. You're not actually lighting the fire. The fire is lit when the electricity goes through the system. And by flipping the switch, really the electricity is ready to go. It's just that you have a machsom, you have a breaker in between the two wires. So when you flip the switch, you're just allowing the electricity to go and finish its pula. So it's really like a Misa grama instead of a direct Misa. That was their kasha on this, that Bechorah shouldn't work. So what Rashi Pesach Frank and others, also I think Tzitz Eliezer, others spoke about is that, and Chanami, even if it is a Misa grama, we see from this Shulchan Aruch Harav, where he touches up the way the Shulchan Aruch Harav explains this halacha is that, and that's the way he learns Shvat and Tosas, that it's a din in Oneg Shabbos, not a din in Kavod Shabbos. So Bishlema, if we didn't Kavod Shabbos, it would be a din Maisa that you need to do before to prepare and everything. So then, and Hanami, maybe you need to do the Maisa Hadlaka yourself. But since it's din Oneg Shabbos, which obviously you can't do a Maisa on Shabbos itself, and the Iker mitzvah is going to be the Hana that you get from the Ner, not the Maisa Hadlaka of the Ner. You'll never have the Maisa Hadlaka on Shabbos itself. So the mitzvah is the Hana from it. And since, so the mitzvah would be on you, the Ner mitzvah chayva, that Tosha says is chayva mitzad Oneg Shabbos, is not a Maisa Hadlaka, but it's to just arrange that there's going to be a Ner Daluk on at your table for Shabbos. And they're all medayik from the Lashon Rambam. The Rambam never says mitzvah lahadlikas a Ner. Not in Perek Hey when he talks about Oneg Shabbos, and not in Perek Lamed or Lav Chavtes, where he spoke about Kavod Shabbos. Neither of them did he say there's a din to be madlik. The Rambam even in Kavod Shabbos said that sheyehei ner daluk on Shabbos. He's always talking about the tetzah of the ner daluk, not the maisa of being madlik of the ner. So they stelzu that, they bring that back to electricity, that even if you're not doing a direct maisa of lighting it, you're still ensuring that there's a ner daluk through a maisa grama, which is enough, which is no worse, and it's even better than Magen Avram's Marash to ask a goy to do it. That it's mamish happening davar acher, and it's on grama ba'alma. You should make sure a goy does it. So these are the nafkaminas that spoke out last time between Kavod Shabbos and Oneg Shabbos. In Kavod Shabbos, the tzad to say that maybe you have to do the Ma'aseh Hadlaka yourself. You're a bar hachi to do it. It's Erev Shabbos, you can do it, and maybe the chiyuv is to be madlik saner, and that's what Rebbe Kneger is holding. That's in Rebbe Kneger's kasha. Is that if he can ask a kasha that ain't shlichus la'akum, so how can he be yotze that way? So you see Rebbe Kneger is holding that the mitzvah is the Ma'aseh Hadlaka, and you need to have a shlichus for that to be yotze the Ma'aseh Hadlaka. Masha'enken, the Magen Avram, and that's how we're going, at least in Ikar Adin. We're saying that the Ma'aseh Hadlaka is not the Ikar mitzvah because it's a din on Oneg Shabbos, and as long as you ensure that there's a ner daluk, that's enough. That's a sikkum what we spoke about last time. So based on this, I think we can take it back to our sugi over here. We could possibly connect the two things. That this shaila is the Ikar Chiyuv Ner. It said we didn't Kavod Shabbos or Oneg Shabbos. Rashi says clearly in the sugi and Chafei, and also in the Mishnah there in Chaf Gimel, Chaf Daled, that the mitzvah, Rashi only mentioned Kavod Shabbos, never mentioned the word about Oneg Shabbos. And it didn't mention the Shulchan, it just didn't cover Shabbos. But Tosas says clearly it's Medin Oneg Shabbos. So the Ran in that Sugi and Chafei seems to learn like Tosas. He quotes the Tosas over there. We see that the Ran is learning that the Ikra Chiyuv Hadlaka, when it says Ner Shabbos Chova, it's a Chova of Oneg Shabbos. So maybe the Ran, the Shitasa, is very geschmack. The Ran said, the Ramban is holding that the Chiyuv Hadlakas within covered Shabbos. In covered Shabbos, the Gra says is on Erev Shabbos, not on Shabbos itself. So the Mela, the Ramban said, Taina is that Mechatesi, who says that when you light the Ner Shabbos, that should be Kabbalah Shabbos. He says the reason you're lighting it is because it's Erev Shabbos. What's the Ramban saying? Obviously, the Ramban knows it's Erev Shabbos, and the Ran, when this, the Ran says obviously, what's the Ramban telling us that the fact that you're lighting is Erev Shabbos? We have a Havamina, and we're going to light it on Shabbos Gufa. I mean, Mechal Shabbos light the Ner Chanukah. What's the Ramban saying, B'chal? I think the Ramban is saying exactly this point. He's saying that the fact that you're lighting it, you're coming to be Mekayim the din covered Shabbos, and that's a din in Erev Shabbos. Right, somebody went out and back in. Okay, Derek's here twice. Okay. If everybody would be here twice, they'd have a lot of people on the chair. So
we could arrange that.
Yeah, like elections are coming. A lot of people vote twice. Especially with the new laws, and you can vote as many times as you want. Okay, so everybody here was saying that the Ramban is mamish geschmack now. The Ramban is telling us that the fact that you're lighting Erev Shabbos, that's a simon that it's not Shabbos, because that's Gufa. The way your Mekayim covered Shabbos is to light before Shabbos, not on Shabbos. And that is not Vada and Avada, not in simon for Kabbalah Shabbos when you're Mekayim than on Shabbos anymore. I'm saying covered Shabbos any more than when you set the table and when you take the shower and all the things you do, your rechitza and all the things you do for covered Shabbos, getting the house ready. That's not all. None of those things are a Kabbalah Shabbos, clearly. So it says Ramban, B'chlal that is also the Hadlakas and Ner. And that's why the Ramban learns the Shitasa that by the Sheish Tkiyos, when he blew for Hadlakas and Ner, the Ramban assumes that the Tokeh himself is Madlakas and Ner as well. And he goes ahead and then he does more things afterwards because there's no Kabbalah Shabbos yet until the final Tkiyah that says, okay, everybody stop. Everybody Kabbalah Shabbos. Okay, I can't pass this by without at least mentioning it. That the tkufa that we're in right now, I'll just throw out food for thought. The tie-in between Rosh Hashanah and Shabbos. Every Shabbos is really our continuation throughout the rest of the year of what we get on Rosh Hashanah, and that's the sort of Sheish Tkiyos. That we have a Tkiyah on Rosh Hashanah, and then we do Sheish Tkiyos throughout the rest of the year. We usher Shabbos in through Tkiyos, because the Tkiyah is a Maisa Kabbalah's Malchus Shemayim, and the Shabbos is Shabbos Malchusa. It says Marav Malchus, so that's our opportunity every Shabbos to be Mamshech the Kedusha Shabbos. Today we don't have the Tkiyos. We're Mamshech the Rosh Hashanah. We don't have the Tkiyos, but it's brought down from the Gaonim. We talk about this another time, that the 6 prakim of Tilim that we say in Luchud Ranuna and Kabbalah Shabbos. So if you take a good look at those, we'll take a look at it tonight. We're saying it soon. All those 6 prakim, the theme of those prakim is all Malchus Hashem. And the Goyim say that the 6 prakim of Tilim are in place of the Sheish Tkiyos. So the Goyim made a gzera not to do the Sheish Tkiyos. They thought we were rebelling, whatever. They didn't like those Tkiyos, so we stopped them. But we put in place the Sheish Tkiyos. Sheish Pirkei Tilim, that the yesod of those prakim is Malchus, because we Makabel Shabbos or Makabel Malchus. That's a whole thing to discuss one time. Maybe we'll explain a little more deeply what that means. But anyway, getting back to our sugya, so the Ramban says that the Tkiyos the Tkiyah of Kabbalah of Hadlakas Neros is not Kabbalah Shabbos, because the Ramban holds us we didn't cover Shabbos, and therefore that's Dafka Erev Shabbos, like the Gra says. Mashenkin the Ran says that Ner Shabbos Choiva, it's a Meleches mitzvah for Kedusha Shabbos. So then mix Mistaber Ma'od, that since Oneg Shabbos, it's for the sake of Oneg Shabbos, like the Ran learns over there in Chafei, which is the Gemara he's quoting over here. So like Tosas over there, it's Oneg Shabbos. Oneg Shabbos is on Shabbos. So if you're doing a Maisa Hachana for Oneg Shabbos, it's Mistaber that you want to be masmik that and use that as your Kabbalah Shabbos, because you're bringing in the Shabbos with Onig Shabbos, which the whole Chefza of Onig Shabbos is on Shabbos Gufa. So the Ran Shitaso therefore learns that this Maisa Onig Shabbos, this Maisa is not just a Heksher, it's a Heksher, the Hadlakas is a Heksher, but the Etzem Hotatzah of that is your Nene from the Ner, and that begins, that's the Tchilas Hana of Onig Shabbos that begins right away with that Ner. Then it's Mustaber Od, it's Michlal, and the Tekanas Chacham, and that with that Hadlaka is a Kabbalah Shabbos. Okay, we're on a short Zoom because we had technical difficulties with the main Zoom. So I'll speak out as much as we have. We try to on this. We might get cut off in the middle. So if we do, I'll already say if everybody should have a Geshmaka, amazing Shabbos, and I'm gonna keep talking, but an amazing Shabbos Tshuva, and too bad we're not really trying to go into Shabbos Tshuva, but the Indian of Tshuva, how Tshuva really works. But suffice to say that we can't be the same people after Shabbos, after sending to Tshuva and Shabbos Tshuva. We can't be the same people we were before, or we weren't Makayim the Din. Something has to be different about not just what we do, about who we are. So we should all be zocheh to that. So, okay, getting back to our point, the Darkei Moshe, I think now it's very geschmack that the Darkei Moshe right here on the tour, and Osdal, that brings B'Shem the Or Zerua, that he says that Hadlakas Neros, your Makabel Shabbos, is referring to the Neros that you're going to light at the table. Those are the Iker Neros. So, like we saw from the Shulchan Aruch Harav, that the Neros of the table, that's the Iker Oneg Shabbos. So it's not the other Neros you light on the house that are going to be Kabbalah Shabbos, only those Neros that are the Iker Oneg Shabbos. That's the Kabbalah Shabbos. And that's very geschmack now, because the whole Kabbalah Shabbos stems from the fact that we're bringing ourselves into the realm of Oneg Shabbos through the Neros, and that's Machayev us to be in Shabbos itself. So therefore, with the Neros, coupled with the Neros comes Kabbalah Shabbos. Now, another Nakuda of this, though, is that we see clearly from the Ran, like we pointed out, is that it's not just the Etzem Hadlaka, but that causes a Gemiras Das of the person. It's not going to work without a Gemiras Das. So that opens up the door to a whole other sugya, which we have to talk about separately, but it's really ties to this, is that since it's telling a Gemiras Das, so then the Beis Yosef brings from the Gos Millennius, from the Maram in Wittenberg, that he said that when you light, you should make a tanai with Hadlaka that you're not really Makabel Shabbos yet until you put down the candle you're lighting with. Because otherwise, if the Shas Hadlaka itself, there's Gemiras Das, then now you have muksa in your hand. Now you have a problem putting out that light or putting it down, whatever, it becomes an issue. So we see, this opens up a whole new shar of tanai. Even if you hold it's a Kabbalah Shabbos, to be able to make a tanai that I'm not yet Makabel Shabbos in certain situations. Now, in the Beis Yosef Gufa, it's a machlokas whether tanai helps or not, and it seems to revolve around the question of, is the Kabbalah Shabbos at the moment of the Hadlaka or at the moment of the bracha? We do the bracha after the Hadlaka. So once you say the words Ner Shel Shabbos, then some Rishonim hold that once you say that, there's no way to make a Tanai anymore. Similar to what we see in the poskim, that everyone agrees that when Ner Shabbos, Ner Yom Tov, when you make Shechianu and you say Lazman Hazeh, that's for sure the Kol Hadeus Koveya, you're Makabel on yourself Hazman Hazeh. So then the shal is, by Shabbos, do you say the same thing or not? Do you say that by saying Ner Shel Shabbos, that's already a Kabbalah Shabbos? So, or even with that, is it possible to say that there's a Tanai, that even though the stam meaning of those words, Ner Shel Shabbos will be Kabbalah Shabbos, but if you make a Tanai Mefurish, that since it's not the words that's chayav you, it's the Gemiras Das, it's the decision, it's the Kabbalah of Shabbos that does it. So then that opens the possibility of making a Tanai. And so the Mishnah Berurah says that since it's a machlokas whether Tanai helps or not, so you shouldn't do it ela l'tzarech. So only l'tzarech. So Shaz, what's called l'tzarech? So just to throw out one example, and there's a lot more to talk about this, but I heard from Shlomo Zalman Zatzal, it's brought down in his name also in Shmir Shabbos, that if a woman wants to light Neros and then get in a taxi to go to the Kosel, because she wants to go to the Kosel. So that Shlomo Zalman said Beferish, that's not called a tzarech. There needs to be some kind of a real tzarech over here. So to me, it's pashat that if a woman needs to make a tanai, it can't be somebody, if it's way before Shabbos, then it's a problem if nobody's makabel Shabbos along with those Neros. Even if the woman herself's not, like she has to go to the mikvah, whatever, then it says that her husband or somebody should be makabel Shabbos together with it. Otherwise, it's not nicker that the Neros are makabel Shabbos, and then it should have to be put it out and relight it again, because if it's far away from Shabbos, it doesn't work unless someone's makabel Shabbos. But let's say it's closer, but now you need a few minutes to get to where you're going for Shabbos. You need to you're lighting it home and you're going to eat somewhere else. It's a little too far to walk, but it's a little too far to walk, but it's close enough that it's not, you're still lighting close to Shabbos. So that, I think, if somebody needs to eat somewhere else, or they're invited somewhere else and it gives a break to your wife, I would call that letzorach. Who would then, if a woman needs to go to shul because they need the chizuk, today a lot of people need chizuk. Where someone's always talking about Shtarker Yerushalmi is the one, an extra experience of going to the kosel. He held that was not called letzorach. But if somebody, I think, needs the chizuk, and so like a woman that's, for whatever reasons, that's important for her to be in shul, she needs that chizuk. Today we're so shvach that any chizuk can get. I would clear about the kosel also today, depending who we're talking about. Any chizuk today where it's such a weak door, it could, when there's really a makom chizuk, then I think ein l'chasar gadol mizeh. I think okay. There's more to talk about, but it's going to get us into too long. We're going to shut off in the middle, so I think we'll hold that here for now, and go from here. We're running out of time this month. Maybe we'll have time for possibly one more shiur before Yom Tov. We'll see. But I think we'll hold that here for now.
Thank you.
Good Shabbos.
Sure.
Shabbos, a beautiful Shabbos Shuvah.
All right. All too.
Thank you.